Have you thought about in your business really wanting to have better targeted marketing and a strategy that can move your business forward? Well, listen to this episode because it all starts with postal codes. And I have Sarah here with me who is going to tell us all about how to improve your targeted marketing strategy using postal codes. That sounds so crazy, but I saw you pitch, so I understand about it, and that's why I wanted you here. Tell us first a little bit about yourself and then about your company.
Okay. So I started Neon Compliant just under a year ago, and it was really born out of the frustration that the nonprofit clients that I was serving just couldn't access the data that they needed to understand who their donors were. And time again, I would go and I would chat with people about what they could do and the information available, and every time they kept coming back to me saying, we don't have the money, we can't access it, it's too expensive for us. And so last year I sat down and I was like, well, what if I could just provide that solution? And so what I do is I help nonprofits and small businesses understand who their customers are through postal codes and Statistics Canada data. And then we translate that into hyper-targeted marketing strategies that help them reach more of those donors or more of those customers and really dial in on who those people are and make them vivid and memorable so that you have that picture of who your customer is when you're doing all of your marketing.
So you mentioned nonprofits was the original, but I think heard in the pitch it's for small business owners who also don't have big budgets.
It is, absolutely.
So tell us more about that and how they can use it. And I also heard about you using direct mail.
Yeah.
So add that in.
Yeah. So essentially for small businesses, we'll focus specifically right now on retail, but it's for any small business. Say you have a Shopify site. You can connect your Shopify site to our website, and then any order that comes in or historical orders, it'll run through our system and link your customers to one of our 33 proprietary personas. So right away you get an order, you're going to know who that person is. You're going to have an idea of the neighborhood that they live in. So it's obviously not going to be a very hyper specific, this is their last name and who they went to high school with and all of that stuff. Yeah. But it's what's the vibe of the neighborhood that they live in? What are the people like there? What are their behaviors? What are the shopping trends for people who live in those spaces? Mm-hmm. So we can help translate that. From there, once you have that understanding, you can build in our platform custom audiences to then push to all of the spots that you're already advertising on. So Google Ads, TikTok, Meta. We connect back to Klaviyo and MailChimp and all of those great email platforms as well. But then one of the things that makes us really unique, and this is me being an old school marketer because this is what I grew up in, is print marketing. So we actually have a print partner that we're connected with. We also just working out a deal with Canada Post as well to have their platform integrated with ours as well. So you'll see the full mailing costs and everything built into our system. And you can create custom targeted mailing lists based on who your personas are. And then with Hemlock, our printer, you could go ahead and do direct mail, or they also handle fulfillment. So we could do targeted boxes, inserts, everything. So it's really trying to create a fully integrated marketing campaign from the first direct mail piece that they get all the way to the packaging at the end, and including all of the ads along the way, allowing you then afterwards to analyze the entire thing. And you don't have to be a data person. I don't mean analyze in a scary way. We set it all up nicely for you. But so you can actually take a look holistically at the campaigns and go, oh, cool, this amount was driven from Meta, this amount was driven from here. Or we know that people in this neighborhood bought. And while we don't have a direct link, we do know that we advertised in the postal codes in those areas, so we can kind of do an attribution essentially to it to help people understand what channels are working the best for them and see a holistic picture of the campaign and that layered effect of because we know this is a real thing. When you pair direct mail with online advertising, you get better redemption.
I love when you're saying that they're all connected and that you're like, oh, this would be a problem, so we'll connect that. It makes me think of my earlier days in business, how I would be the one, getting the order and then writing the label or printing the label and then going to the post office and doing all the pieces. It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And then we have other tools, maybe it's like Zapier, and start connecting some of these, but then we have to be tech savvy to be able to do that. I love that your platform just everything in one place, which also helps that a lot of times a solopreneur to not have to hire 5 different people to be able to run that whole system.
Yeah, and that's honestly one of the main reasons that I started this was it was for non-data people who don't have the budget or the people to be able to create these highly targeted campaigns, because it is one of the ways I know that people are small on budgets, right? You're tight on resources financially and you're tight on time as well. And so being able to have targeted marketing, it lets you decrease the amount that you're spending. So yes, you're spending a nominal amount on our platform, but you can drastically cut the amount of ad spend you're doing, or if you're blanketing, you don't have to blanket a market anymore with direct mail. You can we can go down to, we have postal code level targeting now with Canada Post. And so we actually can get right down to postal code level for the information that you want to share.
When you were on the stage, you mentioned something that is the first 3 bits of the post. What was that called?
It's called an FSA.
Okay.
So I think it's a forward sortation area.
Okay. So it's the first this is for my Canadian friends.
Yes.
It's not your zip code. It's the first 3 of the postal code. So telling that kind of general area.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Amazing. Now I have to ask, from hearing all the people at Web Summit and everybody's going after big business and wanting to make big money, and the obvious thing is nonprofit doesn't have a lot of money, small businesses don't have a ton, but you're serving that market, which is part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on, because I thought, wow, that's like ethically amazing, and you're serving a need that isn't being served. So maybe tell us a little bit about how did that come about, that you, obviously you're in the industry, you shared that.
Yeah.
But what had you not jump to, because this can serve all businesses. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
I'm honestly just tired of the underdogs and the small folks not getting the support that they need. That's what it was. That's what all of this was born out of, was just the constant frustration of these really amazing organizations who just need a little bit of a helping hand. And so it's not attractive to me to go after the big businesses, because there's also a lot of bureaucracy. It's a very difficult world to navigate, whereas I find it way more fun to support small businesses or nonprofits, because we can actually be really nimble and we can do really fun things with it. And so that's where I see a lot of the potential, just in the lift that these type of tools can have for small businesses and nonprofits, and the amount of improvement that it can make for them is huge. And I wanted to go to the spot where I can make the most impact. It wasn't about making the most money. For me, it was about where can I make the most impact, and how can I support these organizations who just don't have access to the information that they need to really, really grow their business.
Yeah. So in your business model, it's more about the quantity of the number of people that you can serve, and rather than a few big fish or whales or whatever we want to call
whatever
them.
you want to call them.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people are doing it. You're offering that as like part of the big piece, but share more, like what maybe some ROI, return on investment, that some of your clients are having, or what you're seeing in that form of marketing.
Yeah, so it's so funny because direct mail gets such a weird rap, and people kind of think that it died, and it has not. So one of the stats I read the other day was that for average nonprofit, on an individual donation level, 61% of their revenue still comes from direct mail. And so there is a huge reason that a lot of nonprofits struggled both during the Canada Post strikes.
Yes.
Because that is a main form of revenue for them. And it applies to small businesses as well. So, one of the original campaigns that I did, it was helping some restaurants with their coupon targeted marketing. Yeah. And they wanted to be able to shift some of their budget to go to some bigger spends, but they relied on this coupon drop every single year to bring in folks during this season. And what we were able to do is we did a small test market where we were able to say, okay, they couldn't collect postal codes, so we had to get creative. How can we figure out who's actually going to redeem the coupons? So we did this really cool test campaign, and it was like before barcodes. So we had little icons, and we manually counted all of them that came in, and they were tied to these personas, and we were able to go, okay, cool. here's the people that were redeeming them. We could then turn it into a massive drop, and we were able to reduce the number of coupons that they sent out by 90%.
That's huge.
And they still had 25% of the return.
Wow.
So they were able to 2.5 times their return. Yes, the dollar amount was smaller, but the return that they got was in terms of percentage, it was a much better investment for their money.
And there's two ways to have money in a business.
Yeah.
One is make more, and one is spend less.
Yes.
So you're helping them kind of do both. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what are some other things that you've heard from your customers or some prospective customers as you build the algorithm for Neon and like your services that you offer?
Yeah, so a couple of the things that I find are really resonating with folks. One of them is just that they didn't think they could ever have access to information like this. They always thought that they were going to be priced out. They just never thought that this was something that was going to be available for them. But one of the other things is, so we like to do things a little bit differently across the board, right? We're not going for those big businesses. We're trying to help small businesses. Yeah. We're trying to do this for people who don't have a data background, who are not analysts. And so part of that is I've tried to, and this came from just like years of speaking on stages about this data, the more that you could make it funny and the more that you could make it memorable, the more it resonated with people. And so what we've done is I actually hired comedy writers to write our personas so that they are like as vivid as your favorite TV character. So when you're thinking of your best customer, you're like, I know exactly who that person is and I can write about them that way. And the humor part is really landing for people because I think everyone is just a little bit tired right now. And being able to have that little bit of joy brought to you by, reading about, and one of our segments is like this old French man, Gerard. And it's just, his little story about his life on the bus and his grandkids eating all of his ham out of his fridge, just like little things like that, where just having something to break that up. And you remember those things. You remember those little items about it. And they act as earworms, right? Or they act as like little triggers so that you're like, okay. So what, one of the first, when we were playing around with the concept of this, one of the first lines that we came up with was, so I live in East Vancouver. And so the line was like, millennial parents in this neighborhood drive a Tesla, but they have a bumper sticker that says Elon Musk is a booger, which very much sums up East Vancouver. And what we were going for there is if all you walked away remembering was the word booger, that would cause you to remember the line before. And then you would remember, okay, they drive Teslas. They care about the environment. They have money to buy a Tesla, but they don't have so much money that they can just get rid of their car right away, right? They have to be practical people. We know that, we know they're millennials, they're parents, so that tells us about what their family structure is. That might tell us a little bit about their life. And that all comes down to, literally, the joke was like, that all comes down to a booger is what works as that like seed in someone's brain to remember about their customer. And it's funny and it's ridiculous and it's playful, but we need a lot more play in our lives. And so, and marketing can be really fun and really playful. And so, it doesn't, those are, we joke that we have a boring version of the segments also that we're working on that you can give it to your board, like the boring version for your board, where we don't talk about filtered one. Right. We don't talk about boogers and all of that, but just, having those little anchors, because it's oftentimes the problem with these reports. And we don't like to call them reports either because we like to make them fun stories. But oftentimes with these reports, they go and sit. It used to be in a file cabinet. Yeah. It used to be buried under stacks of paper. Now it's buried somewhere in your downloads folder, and they're never used again. And people spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on them, and then they never use them because who remembers just millennial women 35 to 40? It's hard to remember.
So you're actually making marketing fun.
Yeah.
Having it reduce costs, increase revenue, be easy to use. Now, when you were on stage, one of the answers you gave to them when they were asking about AI was, it's just math. It's just math. And I love how you made it seem so simple. But let's talk for a moment about, we're at Web Summit. Yeah. I saw you pitch on stage. Your friends were beside me, cheering you on. And that's part of why I wanted to interview you. I went there looking for female founders. And so how has the experience been being here, and how was it prepping for it? Because some of our listeners are building businesses. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I think the prepping journey has been a lot different than I thought it was going to be in a really positive way. And if you're in BC, there's a lot of actually really wonderful programs for founders. You don't need to be attending Web Summit, but just in the weeks leading up, they do a lot of. I did like a 12-week program with one of them, where you just get to meet a lot of people in the community. And not everyone came to Web Summit. That wasn't, yes, that was part of it, but it was not the point. And so you just got to surround yourself with really cool founders who are building different ideas and really building that network and that community, which can be really hard when you're on your own all the time and when you're working by yourself, because that's what I do. But on the other side, I think my idea started as one thing at the beginning, and it was just the personas, right? We were thinking, okay, because that's what I had been exposed to, just the personas and using them in different ways. But I hadn't really thought about this as like a full platform that people could use. And the experience of building for Web Summit and getting really clear on who I am and what we're here to do, then started going, oh, well, it would be really great if we could add in integrations. It would be really great if we could, because everyone would go, okay, great, I know who my customer is. What now? What do I do now? And so this building process has been amazing, because I've just been in a space where I've been able to constantly iterate with other folks and other founders and learn what's possible and what's out there and what I can do. And I think if it weren't for the last 12 weeks and the prep for Web Summit and all of that, I think I'd be in a totally different spot with my product. And so I think it's very, very cool what's been able to come out of it all.
Yeah, it's like the the Les Brown quote, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And so definitely when you're doing your own business, you're not always seeing all these other opportunities or what it could be.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's great that you're a part of that. Maybe if you wouldn't mind, after sending me a few of those resources, we could put it in the show notes. And then anyone who's in Vancouver looking for this would be able to tap into that. You have a gift for us. It's a really amazing gift. So if you're listening to this or watching us on YouTube, which I hope you are, because Sarah's wearing the most incredible pink sweater, but you have a gift. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, when you log on to our site, www.neoncompliant.com, we are offering the first 10,000 postal codes that you have for free to be analyzed. So I know for a lot of small businesses that will cover them for a very long time.
Yes.
And that was the goal, is just to be able to help folks who are at an early stage, or lighten the cost for folks who maybe are a little bit further along.
Perfect. Before I ask the last question, I just want to slip in another one here. You shared with me that you got an autism diagnosis.
I did, yeah.
Just a couple of years ago when your son went through it. How has that helped change things for you? And have you seen anything around like running a business with autism? Like, is there anything there that you would like to share?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for me, it honestly kind of changed everything in a really positive. It was in a really positive way, but it's been really amazing knowing that about myself as I've been building the business, because I know when I'm going to have hyper-focus times. I know what that looks like. We can explain it to my kids so that their brain understands it also. And just being able to show and model to them like what it looks like to just truly embrace having the brain that I have and not fight against it anymore. Instead of beating myself up over going into, a coding hole for 3 days, I go, oh my gosh, I get to go into this coding hole and I'm going to get so much done. And then I'm going to come out and I can put it away for a little bit, and I can, then I can switch to being 100% present and there, and then go, and just kind of make it work for me. Whereas I feel like before I would have just fought it, beat myself up for my brain being that way. Whereas now I understand what's happening, and it's so much easier just to live life. Yeah,
Use it as a superpower.
Exactly.
Yeah. I so appreciate you sharing that, because I know that our listeners can either themselves or maybe someone on their team. And I know there's the full spectrum and everyone's different, but at least giving that as not a limiter either, right?
Yeah.
A limiter that like, look what you're doing and.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, final message to the women listening.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think I honestly think that if anyone wants to like nerd out with me about understanding what they can do for their business, that is something that I will gladly hop on a call with anyone at any time just to chat about what options there are, what are things that they could be looking at differently. One of my favorite things is just trying to figure out what's the data that you already have that you could be using for free. It's one of my favorite talks, my favorite conversations to have. And so just on a final message, like if anyone is out there building and struggling and unsure where to go next, I would gladly hop on a call for free at any point to just chat with folks to help out.
Okay. And I'm going to set a boundary on that. 15 to 30 minutes.
Yes.
Don't capitalize on Sarah's time. She's building a business here. Well, thank you so much for being here and really sharing about the possibilities of a marketing strategy that includes postal codes, that is really systemized in a great way. So I encourage everyone watching on YouTube or listening to us that you go and check out Neon Compliant. Links will be all in the show notes. And definitely take her up on that offer of the 10,000 postal codes. Wow, that is super generous. And probably sign up before you reach out for that free chat so that you can test out what she's doing and see that. So make sure you share this with a friend who is running a business so that they can also learn more about this amazing business and Sarah and everything that she is doing. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.